What's up, fight fans? Gage here, Global Combat News. Just here to give you a little betting breakdown on this weekend's 321 pay-per-view. I'm just going to give you a full main card breakdown, and then I'm going to throw a little parlay that I'm going to put together for this weekend's fights at the end. So stay tuned for all that. The first fight in the UFC 321 pay-per-view this Saturday goes down in the UFC light heavyweight division between division staple Alexander Rakic and fairly newcomer Azamat Morzakhanov. This is a good gauge and test for Morzakhanov to see where he fits in this top 15 rankings. I believe after his last win, he snuck into the 14th or 15th spot, but he's yet to face elite level competition, and that's something that you cannot say about Alexander Rakic. He might be currently riding a three-fight losing streak, but those three losses all come to former UFC champions, as he lost his last fight to former champion Muhammad Ankalaev, former champion Yuri Prohaska before that, and before that he lost to former champion Jan Blachowicz. So this is definitely a good test for both of these guys, a chance for Rakic to bounce back from some tough losses to elite competition, and a chance for Morzakhanov to show us that he is ready for the top 10 in this division. I think stylistically this is a good fight for Rakic to get a bounce back in. Morzakhanov is a pretty good grappler. He has good power for the division, and he's unbeaten. So he's going to come in there like an unbeaten fighter, ready to make that jump and show everyone that he's ready to be fighting the elite of the elite in the division. But if I had to guess, I think that Rakic does enough on the feet, peppers him with some shots from a distance, and keeps it standing enough to where this fight goes to decision. And currently I have Rakic winning by decision. The line is closing at something like near even. I believe that Morzakhanov might close as a slight favorite, but this is closer to a toss-up fight, and the line is showing that. So I think either way you wanted to bet it wouldn't be a bad choice. If I were going to hammer either side, I'd definitely say Rakic by decision would be a good bet, or Morzakhanov by stoppage if I were to guess TKO, KO. Like I said, I think that Rakic bounces back in this one, and I think this is a good way to get the main card started. So give me Alexander Rakic by decision. Next up on the UFC pay-per-view, we have a very intriguing matchup in the UFC heavyweight division between Alexander Volkov and Jailton Almeida. This is a very intriguing matchup for the fact that both of these guys have pretty much beaten everyone they fought as of late, outside of Volkov losing a questionable decision to Cyril Gane in his last fight, which I thought that he won. And Almeida is riding a two-fight winning streak coming off of a Curtis Blades loss. So these are two guys that have been on a tear as of late. And like I said, Volkov could very well be the guy who's fighting Aspinall in the main event if the decision would have went the correct way in the Gane fight last time out. I don't believe Gane won that fight against Volkov. I believe Volkov did enough to win, and he was robbed. So outside of that, he'd be riding a 5-6 fight winning streak, and his last loss came to Tom Aspinall before that. So stylistically, this is a typical striker versus grappler matchup. Volkov is long, rangy. He's the biggest heavyweight in the division as far as height. I believe he's listed at 6'7", but I've heard rumors that say he's closer to 6'9", and he just doesn't want that listed as his height because he doesn't want to seem like, quote-unquote, a freak. Jailton Almeida is a big, strong, powerful guy. He's got good striking. He's got great jiu-jitsu. And if I were to guess, he looks to get this fight to the mat as soon as he possibly can. The line, Almeida's closing at something like a -175 favorite, which I understand. I think it's closer to a pick'em, and I think either way you want to bet this one isn't a bad bet. I think Volkov could keep it on the feet at a distance and maybe even find that knockout shot eventually, but if I were to guess, I think at some point in rounds 2 or 3, Almeida's grappling starts to take control of the fight, and I think by the third round, he ends up on top of Volkov, and I believe he will find a submission and get the job done by submission. Probably second or third round, if I were to guess. Might want to hammer those lines, prop bet, maybe put some money on a submission for Almeida, maybe a decision or KO for Volkov. But like I said, this is a very good matchup. Almeida's big, strong, powerful, heavy. He's got great grappling. Sometimes he doesn't have the most exciting style for fights, but Volkov's going to bring the fight to him. He's a big, long, rangy striker for the division. He finds shots from distance and angles that nobody else inside the division can. And I believe the winner of this fight could very well be the person who challenges the winner of Aspinall and Gane in that main event. So, with that said, give me Jaltian Almeida by submission round 3. But like I said, can't go wrong betting this one. This fight could go either way. Next up on the UFC pay-per-view, we have a very intriguing matchup in the UFC bantamweight division, as we have former title challenger Umar Nurmagomedov fighting Mario Bautista. This is Umar's first fight since his first professional loss, and a loss in a title fight to current champion Merab Dvalishvili. I will say Umar looked very good early in that fight. He was controlling the distance, and he was even winning the grappling exchanges against Merab. But the later the fight went, the more the holes in that cardio started to show, and the more that Merab started to pick up the pressure pace. And by the end of it, there was no doubt that Merab won the decision. Like I said, though, Umar looked good early. If he could fix up some of those holes in his cardio, I think if there's anybody in the division that could beat Merab, it would probably be him. That said, he's got a very intriguing test this weekend against Mario Bautista. Bautista is on a heater as of late. He's won, I believe, his last 7 fights in a row in the UFC. Even if I don't think that he won the Jose Aldo fight, after that, he had a very impressive performance against former Bellator champion Patchy Mix. Even though Mix hasn't looked as good as he was expected to look, he's 0-2 now in the UFC. He lost his next fight by decision after losing to Batista. That said, Batista is a very game fighter on a very long winning streak, and he's going to come in looking to play spoiler. The style that he fights, though, and the way he's going to try to win, a lot of clinching against the cage, a lot of heavy pressure, a lot of grappling and takedowns mixed in with his striking. I just don't think he matches up very well with Umar. I think that Umar should win this fight handily. I currently have Umar by decision. The line is kind of reflecting that, how I feel. Minus 450 favorite for Umar and something like a plus 330 underdog for Batista. So it wouldn't be a bad bet to bet on Mario just because the line is so massive for two guys this closely ranked. But stylistically, I think Umar has better striking. I think he's a better grappler. And if he doesn't gas in a fight that's a 3-rounder, I think he should win a decision very easily. So give me Umar Nurmagomedov decision. And in this weekend's UFC 321 co-main event, we have a vacant title fight between Vina Jandiroba and Mackenzie Dern. This, of course, is the division that Weili Zhang was the champion of, and she recently vacated that title and will now move up to fight the champion in the weight class above her and long-reigning defending champion Valentina Shevchenko, and a fight that fight fans cannot wait for. That said, these are the two women they have decided to put into the vacant title fight this weekend. Jandiroba is very underrated. She's not very well known by a majority of the casual audience, but she's on a very long winning streak. She's 22-3 as a pro, and I don't believe she's ever been finished before. She might have a finished loss, but if she does, it's only once, and it must have been earlier in her career. She's never been finished inside the UFC. She's currently riding a long winning streak, and I think she's pretty solid everywhere the fight goes. She's got pretty decent striking. She's a solid grappler. She has a great chin, and she's tough as they come for a woman in this weight class. That said, Mackenzie Dern, grappling ace, comes from a very decorated Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu background. She'll definitely be looking to get this fight to the ground and lock up a sub at some point. I will say some people don't think that Dern is quite championship material, but she has done a good job to bounce back from some of those earlier setbacks in her UFC career. She's currently riding a 2-fight winning streak, and she enters this weekend as the favorite it is a slight favorite at minus 140, with Jandiroba closing closer to near even at plus 110. The line might even close a little bit more by the weekend, and this might be closer to an even fight. So you really can't go wrong either way you pick this fight. If I were to hammer either way, I'd say Jandiroba probably wins the decision if she wins, and Mackenzie Dern will lock up a sub and get a submission if she were to win. At the moment, I have Mackenzie Dern by submission, second round. I believe that at some point during the second round, maybe even later than that, she finds some kind of grappling exchange, whether it be during a scramble, a transition off of her back, or even if she finds a way to get on top of Jandiroba. I think she'll lock up a sub at some point, and she will be and new UFC flyweight champion. Last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, in this weekend's UFC 321 main event, we have a heavyweight title fight between reigning defending champion Tom Aspinall and former interim champion Ciryl Gane. I'm not going to sugarcoat this one too much, folks. Gane is on his third title fight without ever winning the belt before. Of course, he's been the interim champion, but in his first unification fight for the belt, he lost to Francis Ngannou, and then he was dominated by John Jones when John Jones won the belt. And I'm not going to talk too much shit about Gane because he is a great fighter. He's very big for the division. He moves very well for his size, but I believe he should be coming off of a loss to Alexander Volkov. He won a close decision that not a lot of people really thought he won. And I believe that Aspinall is head and shoulders above anyone in this division at the moment. I believe Tom is about to enter a all-time UFC title run. I believe that he could even challenge that record that Stipe Miocic holds for the most title defenses in the heavyweight division, because I think he gets through Gane, and then after that, he already has beat Volkov, and then outside of Jailton Almeida, I don't think there's anyone that's even that worthy of a title shot right now outside of those three guys. And I think Tom's just better everywhere this fight goes. Gane's footwork is pretty good, but I think that people underestimate how well Tom moves for the division, and if you combine that with his punching power, speed, and just his overall striking acumen, I think that he wins this fight anywhere it goes. He's a better grappler. I think he's better on the feet. He's definitely got more power for the division, and this is a guy that has won every single one of his UFC fights inside of 3 or 4 minutes. He has one loss inside the division, and that was an injury where he blew his knee out to Curtis Blades, in a fight where he avenged that loss by knockout with under 2 minutes against Blades in the second fight. I just think Aspinall is too good for Ciryl Gane. I think he's too good for anyone in the division outside of maybe John Jones actually not ducking and wanting to fight him, or maybe the UFC bringing back Francis Ngannou. I don't think there's any heavyweight in the world right now that beats Tom Aspinall, and I'd even pick him to beat those two guys I just mentioned. I think he's that good. I think he's one of the most well-rounded heavyweights we've ever seen, and I think this weekend he gets it done however he wants to get it done. I have him by KO in the first round. I think that Gane will move around a little bit and try to find his distance, but I think Tom will fairly easily put him somewhere in a shot where he doesn't like. I think it'll maybe be against the cage, maybe Gane circling out, but at some point inside of 2 rounds, I believe that Tom Aspinall finds the chin of Ciryl Gane, knocks him out cold, and starts his run towards maybe being the greatest heavyweight in UFC history. That's how high I am on Tom Aspinall. I have been since I seen him debut, and I said years ago that this is a guy that could have beat Stipe Miocic. This is a guy that could have beat Francis Ngannou. And I was saying when John Jones was champion that this is a guy who would beat John Jones at heavyweight. So that said, the line something like minus 425 favorite for Aspinall, 320 underdog for Gane. Wouldn't be a terrible bet to bet on Gane, especially heavyweight. All it takes is one shot. He's closing as a pretty big underdog, but smart money, and I think the best money is to bet on Aspinall by KO. If I were to guess, he finds that chin inside of 2 rounds and stays heavyweight champion of the UFC.
3, 2, 1, fight!